And the next job is to glue this monster fuel cap onto the tank. And that's where it all went wrong last time, because I managed to scratch the paintwork. So this time I'm going to be really, really careful. And it's not quite as simple as it appears. So let's take this inside and I'll explain why. And so let's now look at this monster fuel cap in more detail. If we turn it over, we can see it's threaded on the inside to screw onto a thread on the tank. But sadly, the thread on my tank is damaged, and of course it won't work anymore. And that's part of the reason why I had a problem the first time round when I managed to scratch the tank as I tried to fix this thing to the tank. It's also got a seal on the inside that pops out. So obviously as you screw it down, that seal gets good and tight, and that stops the fuel from leaking out. Now because I can't do that, this seal's kind of redundant, I can't use it anymore. Had I used it in there and then just pushed it down and glued it, there's no pressure on it, so it's not really going to be doing very much at all. However, if I miss that out, that gives more room for the cap to sink down on top of the tank, and of course then I'm back to square one, and the edges here will hit the tank and scratch the paintwork. So that's no good. Now I have measured the height of the thread on the tank, and it's about 10mm, but it does sit in a little hollow, so I need to take out maybe 2mm of that, so I've got 8mm to play with. I've also measured the depth of this thing here with my calipers, and this measures 10mm as well, so all well and good. However, if I now use some epoxy resin or whatever and just slam it down, the chances are it'll either be too low and also hit the tank, or it could well end up kind of higgledy-piggledy, not quite level. It's not ideal. And because I'm going to use this stuff, JB Weld, once it's set for good. It ain't going to be able to be moved, no way, no how. So I've been thinking of a solution. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a aluminium version of this thing, but rather than being about 2mm thick, it'll be 4mm thick. That'll go in there, and that'll give me 6mm left, which will give me plenty of clearance above the tank once it's jammed down and full of resin and so on. And hopefully then, this thing won't hit the tank when it's all set. I've also got to remember that if we just undo it here, hopefully you can see this, let me just press the right button, there we go. That latch there, when you push it, the edge of it dips down. Can you see that? I measured that at 1.5mm. So still, I need at least an extra 1.5mm to clear the tank so that that doesn't dig into the paintwork every time I try and open the cap. So altogether, it's not so simple as just whacking on some resin and jamming it down. So my first step is to replace this thing with its equivalent in aluminium, but this time at 4mm rather than 2mm in thickness, and that's what's next. And now here's the fuel cap once again, but now I've got the 4mm spacer I've had made to go inside it, and that replaces the seal that was in here originally. Okay, so as you can see, I've protected the paintwork as best I can, and I've now got that 4mm spacer embedded in the underside, or inside rather, of the fuel cap. I've applied the JB Weld, and now hopefully, let me just make sure I'm not covered in stuff myself. Okay, I'm back again, just make sure my hands aren't covered in the damp stuff, because it is quite sticky. It goes everywhere. So now hopefully just plonk this down on here, nice and level, give it a bit of spin, make sure all the JB Weld can go where it needs to go, and then press it down. And is that level? What do you think? Should be. Yeah, got plenty of clearance there. Make sure that's lined up nicely. And now, well, now I guess I can stand here for 4 hours pressing it down, but I don't want to do that. So instead, can I find something I can just rest on here to weight down a bit, perhaps? Let me see what I can find. And so now, with the cap glued in place, looks pretty good, but it takes about 4 to 6 hours to harden off. And so now, I'm going to leave it and maybe come back tomorrow, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this cap will be secure and not going anywhere for a long time yet. And now here we are, the next day, and now I'm just going to remove this tape from the tank. Hopefully the paint works okay beneath. There we go, so far so good. And has this cap glued down? Yeah, looks pretty damn strong to me. Press it in there, look. Yeah, that's fine. A little click there, didn't touch the paintwork beneath, that's the main thing. Yeah, that's great. So I'll call that a success for now, but of course I won't know if it's a success until I fill it full of petrol, and we'll see how that seals up. Now if it doesn't seal up, it's not the end of the world, because I can always apply even more JB Weld to the inside of this cap, because that's where it's going to leak from. So anyway, we'll call that a win for now. So we'll put that back on there, and now we can move on to the next problem. And finally, and thankfully, I managed to loosen off this oil pressure sender here, which is broken, and it's been a heck of a job to get it out. But heat and W40 and all kinds of things have sprayed on it. Finally did their job, and it's coming off now. Here we go. I'm not sure if you can see that, it's quite dark down here. Even though it's quite a bright day outside. Yeah, it's a bit of a drip there, but nothing too bad. And there it is, the offending broken oil sender. Got a new one to pop on, so let's go and do that right now. Okay, so here's the broken sender, just removed it, and there's a new one about to go on. I'm just holding it in place so the oil doesn't keep on dripping out. And hopefully it'll go in. It doesn't actually look quite the same, but hopefully, as I say, it'll go in, and all will be well. Okay, so I've got it started, but now I need to tighten it up, and that's a problem because I can't get a spanner in there because this is such a big size, and the access is so difficult. So I have to resort to these adjustable long-nosed pliers here, and hopefully that will work. I can just about get it on there, but it's a very slow process. As the access is so bloody difficult with this thing, and yeah. Anyway, come back when I've finished, and hopefully we'll have a working oil sender at last. So there's that old horrible broken sender off the bike at last, which has been cursing me for such a long time. Now replaced with a new one, thank God. And so with that done, let's move on. And that is to replace this damaged line to the hydraulic clutch with a brand new one from Hell, and that's what's next. Okay, so I've removed the damaged old line, just about to fit the new one here. And a couple of things to note with Hell. First of all, these ferrules can be turned as required, and that's why on this side, or this end rather, this heat shrink hasn't yet been attached to cover up the ferrule, because they know you might come along and want to twist it before you attach that full time. So that's quite clever. And also it's got these two rubber bungs on the line. Again, that's an option. You can ask for none or one or two. I ask for two. And it's so that you can clamp the line to the frame or whatever, and you don't risk damaging the outside of the line. These are more for sort of just to make sure things stay nice and neat. Now hopefully I've got the length right, because I picked the exact same length as I had before. So that's just a question of making sure everything's tucked in just right. I'll zip tie it back onto the frame, and we should be good to go. And there's the first zip tie in place. I've left it a bit loose for now so I can manoeuvre things around a little bit. And you can see how this rubber bung keeps the line away from the powder coat of the frame. But I've not quite finished yet, because I used this hydraulic line here to help hold these wires in place. So I've just got to remember where I did all these zip ties. And finally, of course, I've got to bleed the system again. But I've run out of fluid, so that'll have to wait. And now I'm getting pretty damn close to starting the bike for the first time. But there is still one more thing I've found that I'm not happy about. And that concerns this front exhaust pipe and the way it curves in and goes behind this frame tube. Because it's touching, it shouldn't do, and it didn't do when we did the dry build, but it's touching now, and I'm not sure why. Now I can't start it like that because the heat will soon burn through the powder coat, and the vibrations could well split this pipe. So that needs to be addressed before we do anything else. Now I'm hoping I can just loosen off the nuts and bolts that hold the pipe in place and jiggle it around a little bit, and hopefully it'll be okay. But if not, this pipe will have to come off and be modified to make sure it clears this frame tube here. But that'll have to wait for another day, because I've run out of time yet again, and so the bike will have to go back in the garage until I've got time to work on that last problem. And so for now, thanks for watching, and cheers.